All righty.
So how you doing tonight, Johnny?
I'm doing pretty well. Uh,
It's
it's uh,
it's
it's a Sunday, and I'm doing pretty good.
yeah, it's good to see you. You've had some health issues, and I'm glad to see you're not in the hospital this weekend. So it's
Yeah,
definitely good. Definitely good to see you're looking good.
me too.
Yeah, one of the things that I've talked to a lot of people about is there is a Johnny Johnson selfie with everybody of note in wrestling. It seems like I've seen you with college coaches, with the best of the high school coaches. Everybody has a selfie. You ever thought about making a book about about your journey in wrestling and use all them selfies?
I was thinking of sometime cataloging it and just tagging people because there's different things that happen through life. Whether they have, usually I want to tag them because when things go well in their life, and then there's sometimes where I've got pictures of individuals who unfortunately have left us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've kind of prided myself on I don't think there's too many levels in wrestling that I can think of, youth, middle school, high school, college, international, that if I would walk into an event where I didn't know a lot of the athletes, a lot of the coaches, being in the media, I know a lot of people in the media. I mean, so just just a lot of great relationships and a lot of pictures. I get some, I would say 99% of the people go, love it, love to see who's there, love to see your pictures. And you always get the haters. They go, overpost, don't want to see it, too much, let it go. And it's like, meh,
No, no, they're awesome. I mean, that's
unfriend.
yeah. No, those are incredible. That's just all those little things from a great career. And you've had an awesome career spanning a lot of decades. You know, I've had a few decades in, and you got a couple more than I do. So first, congratulations, Wrestling Hall of Fame. That's an incredible honor.
Thank
Um,
you.
just amazing. But where did that all start? Where did you get started wrestling?
So I ended up, I went to grade school in Des Moines, and one of my first exposures was with, in parochial school. I went to school with Dion Cobb, rest
Okay.
his soul, the coach from Valley. And we really didn't have any formalized wrestling, but we would kind of roll around. He was a little bit bigger than I was, and but long story short, we lived down by Drake, and there was a lot of crime going on at that time. So we moved. My dad built a cabin up on Lake Cornelia outside of Clarion, Iowa, and we'd go up on our summers. We loved it. And then with the crime rate that was going on, we just said, let's go. So moved to Clarion, rich, rich, rich history in wrestling. So we moved to Clarion, wrestled there from middle school on. Started getting involved with helping out some of the youth in Clarion just on a volunteer basis. Had great coaches. I mean, Dale Brand, who was the first national champion for Cornell College in Mount Vernon,
Yep.
and was a alternate on the Berlin Olympics 1936. Actually, um, kind of a unique thing is I've actually got Dale's participation medal from the Berlin Olympics. His family is very special to me, and his son Bill Brand was a state representative, and they sent me this book about his whole journey uh, through the Olympics, and then obviously Glenn Brand was from
Yep.
Clarion too, Olympic champion, NCAA champion from Iowa State. So there was just a really great culture there, and you wanted to give back. So part of it was that um, I started helping out some of the youth that were around, and it kind of kick-started there. And then after that, I went to Iowa Central Community College and wrestled there for Denny Fredericks, who's from Fort Dodge and was an All-American for Iowa State. And then Don Miller, who was another great individual. all kinds of accolades for coaching at Fort Dodge. He wrestled at the University of Wyoming. Uh, Again, two Hall of Famers. I'm sitting there. They knew I had an interest and passion in coaching, so both Denny and Don talked to me and said, "Hey, we need some coaches for some of the youth in Fort Dodge." So uh, a guy that was on our wrestling team by the name of John Yoder. And I talked to you earlier, not the John Yoder from Belmont, but another John Yoder that was on Fort Dodge's 1980 championship team. He and I went to the YMCA, which had a great wrestling program. So we started coaching the youth there, and it just kind of took off from there.
Nice. Yeah, you've mentioned a lot of really big names in coaching, and so you've had some incredible coaches that have, helped you build your foundation. One of the questions I've been asking the coaches is, who are those coaches that built your foundation? And you kind of given me that already.
Oh, there's a
Um,
lot of them.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that
when I went to Iowa State, I coached with a guy by the name of Wes Worrell, and this was back when Ames had two middle schools. There was Welch and Central Middle School. So I coached with a gentleman by the name of Wes Worrell. But one nice thing was I ended up going to the Ames High School where Jack Mendenhall was there, and another Hall of Famer, great coach. And when I was in middle school, I had the likes of Robbie Watt, Sean Watt, Bobby Thompson, and Paul Welfa. I mean, all these guys went on and had just great high school and college careers. So it was just kind of fun, and then just kind of progressed from there.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear all those. I mean, just amazing the wrestling connections that you've had throughout the years. Um, one of the things that, of course, we're on an Iowa Girls podcast. You're coaching at East Buck now, or helping
Correct.
coach at East Buck.
Yep.
What has gone into building that program? Because it's done amazing, and you guys have done just an awesome job there. But what do you think's gone into building that program?
You know, I'm just along for the ride, and I can't take any credit at all for the East Buck girls. I first started off coaching on the boys' side with Dave Steinkamp, who is another Hall of Famer, and then actually Dave Steinkamp and his dad Curly, I believe, were the first son and father who were Hall of Famers from the state of Iowa. So that's another story. But so Dan Stiefel and I say Kendra Curley, but Kendra Curley Burchett um, are really the driving force behind East Buchanan wrestling. I mean, East Buchanan has always had a culture of some wrestling, some background, but it was really the impetus of uh, Dan and Kendra. Dan had some girls coming up younger than Keely Curley, who
Yep.
has a lot of success. I mean, Kendra had a huge success before there was any type of sanctioned wrestling, but they could see what was coming along with girls. Um, and with Keely coming up, Dan and Kendra just kind of dedicated themselves and said, "Hey, let's commit to this. Let's get this movement going. Let's really look at building uh, girls wrestling at East Buchanan." And they bought into that, and I mean, they willed it. They created it. I mean, 100%. I mean, we have a great culture and a great community, but they help create that culture.
Yeah, no, I mean, they have done an awesome job. And I'm sure you've had a little bit to do with that. Some of the things I've been talking to coaches a lot lately, and because that's kind of leading up into, the beginning of the season, I kind of wanted to have a lot of coaches' opinions. The culture, you mentioned the culture and kind of the core values of the East Buck team. What do you think defines the core values of East Buck wrestling?
I mean, a lot of it is just everything that you always hear about wrestling is just hard work, dedication, teamwork. I mean, people argue about wrestling as like, is it a team sport? Is it an individual sport? Well, when you're on the mat, yeah, you're one-on-one with people, but in the long haul, it's a community, it's a team sport. So I think they fostered that, and then and a lot of the things, the values that you hear a lot of people talk about with wrestling, that's kind of what Dan and Kendra try to instill with people. But I think another thing that's really important that not only myself but Dan and Kendra do is that, there is life after wrestling. We
Yep.
want them to be successful in life. We want them to be productive, and good human beings. Just go out, pursue your passions, your interests, and just be great contributors to society.
Very good. Yeah, it's amazing. You talk to the best coaches across the state, across the country, and they all say the same things. They really truly do. And it is really good to hear those things coming out of everybody's mouths because I really think that's true.
Right. And
Um,
and I'll impart one more thing. I know you gotta, but you want to also instill in them that Dan Gable always said, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. But sometimes it's not. But I think another thing we try to instill in them is that if you're having difficulties, you got people to come back to and rely on. I mean, with your kids too, as coach, I mean, you want them to feel like, if you need help, just
yep,
call us.
exactly. Very much so. One of the things we've been talking about with all the coaches, there's a lot of new people obviously coming to wrestling right now through the girls and the boys are actually growing now too. It's good to see the sport having some really big leaps right now. A lot of colleges are starting teams where when I was in college, we were losing teams left and right. Um,
Right.
but defining success and on those new athletes and how do we create confidence in new athletes? If you can answer the question, you probably are going to be a millionaire.
How you say that again, Coach?
How are we creating, those new athletes? How are we
Right.
giving them confidence, confidence to feel like they can do this?
Well, I'm trying to think. We had a young lady that just graduated this year. Her name was Valeria Torres. She she came in. She was a freshman. It was the first year of sanctioning. She just came in. Had a lot of the girls that we have wrestling backgrounds. Dad coached, dad wrestled, brother wrestled, sister wrestled. Doesn't matter. This girl, no exposure to wrestling whatsoever. Um, and she just happened to be a lighter weight. When you you know how it is. You got the
Yep.
bell curve. You need some lighter weights and heavier weights. So again, credit it all to Dan and Kendra reaching out, bringing this young lady in, and just same thing, building on just the basics. It's like you, you know, thinking some people thinking they're going to go out there and have to win every single match or their first match. I mean, there's been so many great wrestlers that didn't wrestle until they got into high school, or kind of like Michael Jordan's story where he got cut from the basketball team. Look at that. I
Yeah.
mean, but I think of John and Ben Peterson from Wisconsin that never wrestled until they went to high school. And then they come out and they were both, it was switch. I mean, both Olympic champion and silver medalist and NCAA champion. It's just to kind of build off those short successes. And that's kind of what they did with this young lady. And it just goes, hey, you can do this. Just going over the basics, teaching them what they need to go out on the mat. And, it's just basics. Here's a good stance, here's a good takedown, here's a good breakdown. Um, and when you have setbacks, you just kind of, that's in the past. We keep looking at the next match and the next practice. So I think a lot of it is, um, you know, I always say everything is a learning experience. It's like, okay, that match. you learn something what to do or not to do. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
just that simple. It's like, well, you got headlocked right there. What'd you do? I kept my head up. Well, boom, you got stuck.
yeah.
So I think a lot of it is just kind of dissecting and pulling out things like that and on again, just exactly what they need from a match and what they're learning. So and just to build off of that.
Yeah, and with those new athletes, defining success, right? What is a success? What is success for a new athlete, as opposed to what's success for someone that's been in it quite a while? Um,
Right. And we've got,
yeah,
like I said, we got girls that, have brothers that wrestled or sisters and just beat the crud out of them, and then they just get tough and they know. I kind of liken youth wrestling to I'd like to close off gyms and not have any parents in there, but like kittens or dogs, I mean, they just kind of roll
yep.
around and they learn where their body is in space and time and how to come out on top and pin the other one.
So now that you've had the chance to coach, I mean, you've obviously coached for a long time, coached boys for a very long time. Do you think there is much difference in coaching girls? Is there a different approach that you take or do you think it's all about the same?
There's a lot that is similar, but then again, there's a ton that's different. So I think one of the first things that I think when first started helping out with the girls is, you have things that are planned out. And so we were getting ready to go to a tournament and we were talking about, before like weight management and all this nutrition, blah, 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 and stuff that you would do for both men and women. And then we had a schedule on what it was going to look like at the tournament. And it was like, okay, bus is leaving here. We're going to get there. Weigh-ins here, blah, 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 blah. And just like very methodical. And so we said, is there any questions? And their hand went up and they go, Coach, when are we going to do our hair? It's like what? It's like so like that. Or you're sitting there and you demonstrate a move and you go, all right, do this 3 ways this way, 3 ways that way. And they start working and they're drilling hard. And then all of a sudden they're dancing. It's like this is our favorite song. It's like, and if you get too cranial and too rigid and you just go, no, get back to work, blah, blah, you just gotta kind of let that stuff fly. I mean, it's just
Yep.
like with girl, it's like boom. It was kind of like oh, we were at different tournaments, and one would be at the Battle of Waterloo, and track wrestling went down.
Hmm.
So what do the girls do? They start line dancing. So
Yeah.
it's like, so I got some good video, and Jeff Frost and Dan Huff, who helped run the tournament, go, you got to get us that video. So I had some video. So it's stuff like that. I think the camaraderie I've got a lot of great friends with uh, boys wrestling and wrestlers, coaches, officials, everything. But it just seems like on the female side, I think, they can be fierce competitors on the mat, and I think the guys can too, but they just seem to be able to let it go just a little bit more and just there's so much cohesion that I see with women's wrestling that it's just unreal.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed that part of it too myself. And then the bonds that we've created even throughout the sport, it seems like everybody's
I
in
always
it.
love seeing you when we go to Iowa Central
Yeah,
and Fort
yeah,
Dodge.
no, it's always fun just to run into people and it is fun. And it tends to be for whatever reason. I think it's because coaches are maybe at the end of their career and they're like, well, we need a girls coach, and they volunteer to do that. And then the next thing you know, that they're like, wow, I would never coach boys ever again.
Right.
To me, I can't see myself ever going back the other direction because I have
And
so
I've
much fun
seen,
doing it.
and you have too, I've seen so many veteran coaches that, again, I mean, Bergman from Tripola or Denner from Western Dubuque is like these guys that I thought are retiring,
Uh-huh.
and there they are, and they love it.
Yeah, it is fun. It's maybe it's because it's so new and it's been around a while, but sanctioned so new and it's still fun and part of being part of the growth, part of all that.
Right.
Um, you spent some time on the other side, uh, with the whistle in your hand or in your mouth too, didn't you? How did you get
Yep.
into officiating?
Um, this would be back, I mean, probably right after Iowa Central. I went to Iowa State after that. And about the same time I transitioned into um more coaching on a regular basis with Welton Central Junior Highs. I took a rules and officiating class with Les Anderson, who was also from Clarion, uh, great wrestler for Iowa State.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Les has passed away, but so did that. And again, so Les is telling me, he goes, hey, he goes, there's a shortage. We need, well, I don't know when they didn't say there wasn't a shortage, but just said, hey, we need quality officials out there. So when we were done with the class, they made sure that we all sat down, took the tests, and completed the test. So it's like, well, this was first semester, so we still had second semester. Some schools would run junior high wrestling in the fall, some in the spring, some did it over both semesters. So ended up picking up some officiating dates there. Sometimes, and it wasn't to be critical or conceited, but there was a lot of times I'd go to events and go, I could officiate better than that. So kind of got into it that way. Um, And then people go, how can you do that if you're coaching? But there's like Marv Ryland from Eagle Grove, Don Miller. I mean, there's all these guys that, and I didn't understand it at the time, that these guys were coaching high school and then they were down at the state tournament officiating, but they would never officiate, obviously, in their own class.
Yep.
You don't see that much anymore, but that's kind of how I took off. And then, did a lot of middle school, progressed really fast to high school, and then I did a lot of college officiating. So,
Yeah. Can you, any notable, I mean, you officiated for
I
quite a
mean,
while.
I mean, I've refed at Iowa State, UNI, a lot of Division III stuff, a lot of D3. I've done over 15 junior college national championships. I've done the NAIA national championships. Just a lot of again, my son wrestled, so I'd go to events, and especially freestyle and Greco. You go in and you're trying to coach your kid, and they're throwing armbands at you and say, "Hey, we're
Yep.
short. You're out there." And it's like, as long as I can watch and coach my son, it's like so. And it just morphed. I mean, I'm doing Greco and freestyle. I'm doing little kids. I'm doing middle school, high school. As a teacher, same thing. The AD's going, "Hey, we got somebody that's sick," or "We're short an official." So yeah, I mean, sometimes looking back, it was stressful, but enjoyable. So yeah, I mean, a lot of different levels I've been able to officiate and have really enjoyed it. So
Yeah. One of the things I've been really enjoying, oh, since I've started doing a lot with AAU, is getting to know officials better. And maybe you can help me with this idea. And like I'll sit with Mark Kenny and some of
yep,
those guys, and
great guy.
we'll discuss rules and how what the difference. How can we get coaches and officials together? Because I think obviously knowing how officials are looking at things as a coach only makes me coach better. Also,
Right.
maybe it does the same thing for officials. If they're seeing what we're saying, how can we get together and do some of those things? Will we ever be able to get together and do those things?
Well, one of my philosophies is that the officials have to study and take the rules test
Yep.
in order to officiate, and they have to pay their dues. I personally think that every coach should have to take the rules test and pass it.
I don't think that's a bad
That's just
idea.
my opinion, but it's like, coach. I've had some where I always try to be professional, but there are some times I've said, Coach, have you read the rule book?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I,
I think they really, and just taking the test is not going to make you proficient in the rule book. I think people like the ones you mentioned, like Mark Kinney and Joe Fontenot and different guys with AAU. There's different ones I know through USA Wrestling, Freestyle, and Greco. There's different ones through the NCAA. They read the rule book, and and to me, for to be they go, what does it take to be a good official? Well, to me it's studying that. I learn more from watching other officials, and at the end of the day, if people go, how'd it go, if you can't look back and see some things that you need to work on, then you need to get out of officiating or coaching, whatever. It's like,
yeah,
if it was a perfect day, I'm sorry. It's not.
you
We
might be
can
right.
always improve on something.
Yeah, you're right. I went up to BV today and watched their club practice. It was I don't even know the new assistant coach was running it, and I was like, man, I really like how he's doing this. So, and he's maybe a late 20s, early 30s guy, and here I'm 50, be 55 this year, and like, man, I'm learning. And I even told one of the kids that I said I'm learning probably more sitting here than you guys are learning, and
Right.
stuff. So you're right. If we ever
Was this
stop
men's
learning.
coach? Was this men's
Men's
practice
coach.
or
Yep,
women's?
this was the
Okay.
men's practice. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, their club practice right now they've been displaced for their home because of construction,
Oh.
and so they're kind of running everything all together co-ed right now
Was
for.
Mashik there?
No, it was not. No, it was not. It was Sean, and then he has got a new assistant. I can't think of the guy's name right off the top of my head. I feel bad now. But they were
Yeah.
in there, and just the flow that they had, I was like, man, I could really learn from how they're doing things. Yeah, that stuff. I like your philosophy on that. And I do think that's not a bad idea that coaches should have to pass that test also,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things there's a lot of things I thought were rules, and then you
Right.
start talking and it's like, well, that's more of a old wives' tale, or the idea of touching a knee on a like on a we always used to say, yeah, well, I touched a knee on that slam or whatever, and that's not
Right.
even really a thing.
No.
So
No.
yeah, it's kind of interesting to see those things. um throughout all of this long journey of wrestling and stuff, and it's so much fun. Are there any things that you can think of that would like, man, that was a really cool thing, or something that changed the way you looked at how you viewed yourself as a coach or an official or as an athlete?
I'm trying to think. There's just so many different experiences, but I think as I look back, um, was just how, and I'm going to go off of, because this is the girls wrestling podcast. So
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
just going to go back to just the metamorphosis of women's wrestling, because I remember um, going back at different little tournaments going on. I mean, Charlotte Bailey and her
Hmm.
husband did a lot to get a lot of tournaments going on. And I would go into tournaments to take pictures and referee and coach, and just tried to do a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
And I still remember, um, before we'd even get the tournaments going, and we'd get like different entities together and go, how do we want to run this tournament? What do we want to do? What do we want to do as far as match links? They were still trying to figure out, how long do we want these young ladies to wrestle? Do we want to go 1-1-1? Do we got to go 2-1-1? Do we want to go a minute and a half minute? A lot of things. But one thing I thought was special was that, and I watched some of your broadcasts, and you talk about what rule would you change if you could
Uh-huh.
change.
Yep.
I won't get to that
And
one yet, but
yeah,
that's
we will
coming.
get to that.
All right, but we really talked about the modified rules at the time, and basically was folk style rules um, with the push out,
Yep.
and just that little bit took kind of a cultural change for a lot of the referees and the coaches and everybody. And and they caught on. I thought that was kind of a revelation, like, okay, they're able to do this, and I think the sport can really take off. But what direction? I mean, I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I've really enjoyed the modified rules to tell you the truth. It speeds up matches. It makes you compete in the middle of the circle, which
Right.
we all want to see. You know, that's one of those things that I keep going back to and thinking on. Um, a lot of the things I like to do with this podcast is not get to, you know, the wrestling part's really important, but I like to get to know people and let other people know things about you that maybe we wouldn't find out from just running into you at the tournament. So I want to start family. Could you tell us, you know, tell a little bit about your family?
How far back do you want to go? No, I'm just
Well,
I grew up in Clarion, one of eight kids. Um, but I'm my wife is Lois, and she is originally from Algona, which is a huge wrestling town.
yep.
Her senior year, they won state in wrestling. We met when I was wrestling at Iowa Central, and she came to watch me wrestle when I was there, and I was shocked that she really hadn't seen any wrestling matches despite her high school winning state wrestling. I'm like, so, but yeah, so we met at Iowa Central, and just I don't know how many years we went out, right, yeah, five or six, and then we ended up. So I've got daughter Morgan. She graduated East Buchanan in '08. She got a presidential scholarship at UNI, went there. She studied graphic design and history. And then she went on to go to Bowling Green, Ohio, and got a degree out there in student services. And now she works in for Portland Community College in Portland, uh, uh, Oregon. And she started out there, and then right when COVID hit, she was doing all the online coordination, and that was kind of crazy for her. So, got a son, Travis. He graduated in 2011 from East Buchanan. And I should say my daughter was involved in a lot of extracurriculars, wrestling, cheerleader, fine arts, the whole gambit. Son too, football, wrestling, track. Then he went to Iowa Lakes Community College and was on student government there, wrestled there, national qualifier for them. Um, One thing that was nice about him is he got the um, I'm trying to think of his first name, but one of the senators from the state of Iowa, Kibbe, and there's a Kibbe Award for people who do outstanding things as far as student service and for the community college. So he won that award, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Uh, then he went to Iowa State, and he and some friends, he didn't wrestle for Iowa State, but he and some friends got the Iowa State Wrestling Club, not to be confused with the current Cyclone Wrestling Club,
Yep.
going basically amateurs to go to
Mm-hmm.
tournaments. So he likes that. And then he got a degree in agronomy. He works for Growmark Farm Service as an agronomist. Right after high school or college, excuse me, he got hired with Growmark Farm Service in Elkader, Iowa, and he started coaching at MFL Marmac.
Oh,
And it seemed like yesterday, but he's been there 10 years.
wow. Yeah, so he's
And
got to coach with
so
Chet then.
so he's been coaching with Chet for 10 years. And so Chet just retired this last year.
Mhm.
And my son was just recently named the head coach for MFL Marmac. So he's got some big shoes to fill. And most notably, um, Chet just got named and is going to be inducted during the Iowa Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association meeting on October 18th into the Iowa chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. So Chet is a great guy. His wife is a great lady, and his oldest daughter didn't, but his other two daughters wrestled, and he has one daughter left. Mackenzie just graduated. She's going to Iowa, and then Kennedy is a junior,
Yep.
and we'll be wrestling probably 105 again. She's just
Yep. She's a tiny little thing.
so so he's there, and his wife, Erica, is a athletic trainer for MFL Marmac, and then they have a young son, our grandson Colton, who is a little bull pup. He's a pre-K, 4-year-old pre-K up there. So outside of that, I mean, I got other extended family, but
Oh yeah. I met some of your extended family was working at our plant a year or so ago and stuff. So he was, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head,
my
but I know we
brother
were,
Jake.
yep. Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, no. How long did it take your wife to get broke into being a wrestling wife? I know my wife didn't see wrestling when she was in high school either.
Right. So she kind of caught up fast. Because when we got married in November of 86. And at that point, so 84, 80, let's see, right out of Iowa State, 84, 85, I was coaching at Sioux Empire College over towards your in Hayward, Iowa,
Okay.
back when
Yeah.
they had a junior college. So, and then the end of that year, they came in and closed the college. So then I went to Kirkwood, and so in Cedar Rapids, and we were talking. We were kind of talking about getting married, and she was kind of throwing out when, and what are you thinking? I go either before or after wrestling season, not. So she kind of pushed the envelope. We got married November 8th in 86. So that was just
Just
we were
before.
actually wrestling. We were already down in Warrensburg, Missouri, down wrestling at a tournament there, and we got married, and so it was crazy. So she caught up pretty fast.
Gotcha. So one of the things that wrestlers, we love food. It's one of our things. Um, we don't do things the same now as we used to back in the days when we cut all that weight and you didn't have to weigh in an hour before a meet.
Right,
But what are some I remember what I used to have when I'd weigh in and it wasn't good. What are some of
right.
the memories you had from after weigh-ins? What were some of the horrible things that you did?
Well, we we couldn't or really weren't supposed to leave the school during the day. There was no when I went, there was no release.
Uh-huh.
So, but we'd weigh in. Yeah, we'd weigh in like at 7:30 in the morning, not wrestle till 7:30 at night. It's like 12
Yeah.
hours of packing on weight. Um, we had for me, we had a bakery in town. It was called Conlon's Bakery. And so love to go down there and get I like cinnamon twists roll, any glaze type of rolls, you name it. Um, and I like to pair that with ice cream, and it was tough to get French fries, but I knew a guy that had one of the restaurants in town, so I'd kind of get a little mix. Actually, sometimes I would get the ice cream and French fries for lunch, even though again we weren't supposed to leave school.
Yeah. Yep.
Although now we know there's a difference in nutrition now as far as
Yeah.
electrolytes and everything else. So,
It's
so
all
ice
probably for
cream,
the
French fries, and uh,
cinnamon
bakery
rolls.
products.
Very good. So that leads me into the next question. I grew up in an ice cream household. It's a guilty pleasure food of mine. I think it should be its own food group, right?
Yep.
So, do you have a one of those foods for you? Do you a guilty pleasure food?
I have kind of a sweet tooth, but what I really like is I like I like to grill, and I like all kinds of grilled items, vegetables, a bit meats and stuff. But and I just had it today. My favorite is a really lean hamburger on the grill. I just that. I made a pub burger today, and I
So
can't get.
if
I mean, everybody goes, "Oh, not a steak and this and that." Though, if I get a good ground beef patty and can smoke it and get that smoke flavor all the way through it, I'll tell you what, I can eat those. I mean, people go, "Not a ribeye." It's like, yeah, I could, but
oh, that's it. It's tough to beat a good burger. It really is.
Yep.
If I'm over your way, what place are we going out to eat? What's the best local place?
Um, if it were close, um, there's a place called Denali's that is a restaurant out on the river in Independence. Uh, Del Rio's a nice Mexican restaurant also in Independence. And then if you want pizza, then we're going to Wolfie's out back in Quasqueton. Everybody calls it Quasky because they can't go Quasqueton. I don't think the kids that even grew up there can spell it or say it very well, but it's Quasqueton. So Wolfie's Outback pizza. So meat
Nice.
lover is really great, deep dish. So I don't like if I'm gonna go there, it's deep. It's not the thin. Thin crust, they got a good thin crust, but it's gonna be the deep dish.
All right, I'll try to make it out there sometime. Sounds good to me. Um, I don't get an opportunity to travel that much. Just honestly, with wrestling is the only time I travel. Has there been a really cool vacation spot that you've got to go to with family?
With wrestling or
Either way, either way. Actually, how about
well,
with
usually when I take
wrestling?
my wife somewhere nice, she always goes, "What wrestling event is there?"
Yep.
I would say, God, there's so many. Um, I would say probably one of the most special ones would be, and I actually went twice, would be to the Centennial Olympics in Atlanta.
Oh, cool.
To, just going down Centennial Park and everything that Atlanta did there. So, um, I had already planned on going with my dad to freestyle wrestling. And so we had that trip just totally set up. And back then you still kind of do, but we had to do a lottery for tickets.
Hmm.
And we were fortunate enough to get tickets. And the venue was in the Georgia Dome, which they've since demolished, but it was open seating. So we would get done with the session, and one of us would go out and get something to eat while the other got right back in line. So it was fun, and we were right down, and it was just an amazing culture with a lot of the Middle Eastern and especially the Iranians. They had these little tin horns, and they would blow on those, and it was just incredible. And then the Japanese wrestlers and their fans had different cheers, and it was just fun to experience all that. And then uh, Squirt had a contest on through Coca-Cola on winning a trip to the Olympics, and I like to drink. I need to drink diet now. So I was drinking regular Squirt and regular Coke. And inside each box they had a second chance certificate. And my wife always thought it was funny because every time the deadline came and I'd come home from work every day when I was at Kirkland and I go, "Did my envelope come yet?" And she's like, "What envelope?" And I go, "My tickets to the Olympics." And fate would have it that I came home one day and I had a FedEx envelope and I was able to take my wife to the Olympics. So we actually went first, and we were actually at Centennial Park and had just left like minutes before the bomb went off at Centennial Park. So my
Wow.
parents are calling me at like 3 in the morning going, "Are you okay? Okay." So um that was really memorable. I mean, it was just fun to go and take in the Olympic experience. Uh I've been to world championships, I untold NCAA championships, Division One, twos, and threes. I love going to D3 because there's so much of an Iowa culture in all the Division threes. Those are so fun. with just what Wartburg's been able to do. But it was also fun to be there in the years where Decorah was up there and where Coe was up there and when Cornell. I mean, there's just so many coaches there that you really care about and want to see do well. So and even D2, I mean, they were in three, but Upper Iowa with Heath Grimm, there's just so many, and now with Nick Mitchell and NAI. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been to a lot of them there, and I was there when he well, every year he's setting records, but so it was just prevalent. I was there the year that Life University stopped them from getting their 10th title. I mean, I mean, unfortunate, but it was history in the making. So there's just a lot of them that just are incredible. And I would say the Olympics would be the pinnacle for me. And I'm looking forward to Los Angeles, 2028. So.
Not too much farther. So is that if I would say for you and your wife to go on a trip, is that where we're headed to the Los Angeles Olympics, or do you got some bucket list place that you guys would like to go?
Well, we're going to Los Angeles. So that's a given. And I'm gonna take my son and probably my daughter come down from Portland. Um, I don't know if it's so much my wife's idea that I would like to do, and she told me just to go do it first and then bring her along. But I would love to go to Europe, especially during the fall and Oktoberfest,
Uh-huh.
and partake in a few libations.
Very nice.
But
Yeah.
I'd like, my idea of fun would be to get a Euro pass and line up different youth hostels and just go all around Europe. Because people have no concept of how nice the Euro rail is in Europe. They get a little nervous about hostels. They're like, oh, but you just need a place to rest your head
Yep.
and just put your money into food and entertainment. It's like that would be to me because it's so if you would just overlay Europe over the United States, it'd be just like going from state to state. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
gonna go from, you know, London to," and it's like, "Come on." I,
It's not
I
that
would
far.
that would be my ideal trip.
That sounds like a really fun trip. Is there anything on TV right now that you guys are watching when you sit down at night?
Um, I used to like the national news. Um, we uh we like a lot of the crime shows. Like there's a new one out there called High Potential that we really
Oh,
like.
I was gonna start watching that. Now, is
Yeah,
it pretty
it's
good?
really good. So go on and you can pull that up on probably Hulu. But we
Yep.
really like uh Law and Orders, but we really like SVU. I mean, that's right now it overtook uh Gunsmoke is the longest running drama series, like 6 years ago. Whoops, sorry. Um, there's my there's my son. He probably knows I'm talking bad about him. So I would say a lot of the just stuff that makes you think a little
Yep.
bit and try to
Those are,
solve things. Um, I hate reality shows.
yeah, no, I don't blame you there. My wife and I watch a lot of those same SVU and NCIS and those types of shows. We really enjoy those. Um, Over the years, wrestling shoes have changed. Do you have a favorite brand that you wear all the time?
I mean, it was Asics. It was pretty much Asics or nothing else. I mean, when I was younger, it was the white and black Asic Tigers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had a pair of those myself. Yeah.
Um, you know, all of them, everybody, if they do well, they seem to have different athletes that, um, I think there's a lot of them. I think the products, I mean, there's a guy that runs Rudis right now that, they came out, now they've come out with some women's, they say
Hmm.
specifically. and shoes, a lot of pink ones, which would be neat down at state wrestling.
Yep.
Um, but I think some of the shoes are getting a little cost prohibitive. Just
They are getting pricey. You're not kidding there. When
so, I still think, Brute still has some good bargains. Adidas still has some good bargains. If somebody's just going to get into just the name, I mean, God bless them. I mean, like I said, Rudis does a lot. They donate stuff to wrestling, and a lot of them do. Um, I that just I don't know. It's just so tough. Do I have a go-to or favorite one? I'm still going with old school Asics. I have Asics. I have like 30 pair of Asics running shoes.
Oh yeah, they're comfortable running shoes very much.
And back when East Bay was still around, I'd wait for
Hmm.
their closeouts and I would get like a $23 pair of $130 shoes.
Yep.
And I'll still go on Amazon and get like now like a bargain is like 59, 69, $79
Yep.
shoes,
Yeah.
$300. So I'm kind of brand loyal with Asics, I guess.
I don't think it's a bad brand to be loyal to. I did buy my first pair of Nike wrestling shoes because all the girls were saying Nike Inflicts. So I did buy a pair and they are comfortable. I will tell you that. I haven't, of course, I don't really wrestle much anymore. They're just for being on the mat.
I would get a lot of New Balance officiating, black
Oh,
officiating
yeah.
shoes, and they do some good specials too. And I like those as well. Um, I just don't like the ones that you wear them once or twice and the heel falls off or
Yep. Yeah. No, I hear you. That happens. Gonna go back to some coaching ideas here, and maybe things have changed with the girls. Uh, on the flip of the coin, I know as a young wrestler, I was always choose down. Do you think we still choose down all the time coaching girls?
well, it just depends on the wrestler. I know some that are better off on their feet. I mean, to me, I always feel like if you're going to win this match, you're going
Yep.
down. You got to get out. You got to work out. You got to get out. Because a lot of times you get guys or girls that, especially if you get in later into a match, second, third period, it's tough for them to ride them.
Yeah.
But we got some that have good. I mean, our girls love the butcher. I mean, they can
Hmm.
break them down and they can run that like no other. And we had a couple girls that the crossface cradle, and it's like, and just the same ones that were great on top, they actually sucked on the bottom. So we kind of knew it's like, okay, you go
Yep.
top or here.
Yeah.
If they weren't good on top or bottom, then we're going on our feet. So, but for me, I would say 80% of the time, if you want to win this match, you're going down. You're going down, get out, get that point, and then if you're good on your feet, whatever, or reverse them, and then you're on top. So I'm saying down.
Yep. I don't disagree. You've kind of already talked a little bit about some of our on top, East Buck, good at butchers, good at cradles. What's the go-to takedowns at East Buck?
Collar throw by.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Yep. Boom. 2-on-1s, drag, collar throw bys, outside, out to either snap them down or outside single. Just
Yeah, I should
boom.
have that what Destiny Crumb just to me had the best drag. I
Yep.
remember watching her hit those drags quite a bit. So yeah, I definitely tell you guys teach that well because
Yep.
I know that's something I
Just
always remember watching her.
they're on the neck and just
Yeah,
come across and boom, down, out, throw by, or with the shoulder. So I would say, yeah, just the throw by and if you do it well, you don't have to worry about the single. But if you get them thrown by and they're not going the direction you want, then that hip's exposed and you got the single right there. And well,
and you
I
said
mean,
you're
we got
take
some that do really good on like a blast double,
yeah
but I mean, you got to commit to that. It's just
yeah
not halfway. Because we get some that you do too. They get stuck underneath there and they waste all their
yeah
energy, and then
for
they ended
sure.
up losing. They lose their energy and they get reversed or just get tired.
Yep. Now you said we like to pick bottom, or you like to pick bottom. What's your favorite way getting away?
Getting away. Um,
Or reversal,
I
whichever.
kind of like I'm kind of a boot scoot. I like a little short sit. Not so much sit out, sit out, sit out, sit out.
Hmm.
Just a short sit, the pressure back and controlling the arms and just trying to get your legs and your hips free. And a lot just we get so many girls that just being able, I go do that short sit, and then your arms right there to block their hip. And there's so many
Yep.
times where they're
And
out,
they,
and then they just
yep.
feel comfortable, and then the person comes in behind them. It's like stick that arm out, and you got their hip blocked, then work out from there.
Yep.
And
I've
that's
seen
what's
it.
under.
You see, seen
I
that.
just like a good short sit or a boot scoot, and just go from there. Just kind of scramble, and so I mean that's
Kind of,
my
yep.
opinion.
No, I like it. I like it. Um, a lot of times I'm talking to some of the girls and I talk about people that they look up to and aspire to be. But in our age group, we don't really look up to aspire to be somebody. But through officiating and coaching, is there somebody that you were like, wow, that's one hell of a coach? That I mean, I'm sure you've seen multiples, and I don't want to put you on a huge spot, but like you've been on the mat, you've been there with brands and you've seen Kale and what are some of these?
Yeah, at that level, that's yeah, I mean the Brands brothers are pretty intense. I'm trying to I mean high school I could go on a lot of them. I mean Chris Ortner is one from Gilbertville, Don Bosco,
Hmm.
just his approach and everything he does. Um, kind of Brett Jennings, Voss from West Delaware, Doyle from Independence. I mean, Bridgewater, he used to coach at Northland. There's just so many of them that have different qualities and are just great guys. But I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about before, is where they're the ones that are really good technicians, but they also teach these kids that this is what you need to focus on because there is life after wrestling. So, um, I would say one, and I'm trying not to get emotional here, is during the heat of all of it, a Division I coach, Doug Schwab. Despite what we talked about, I've been doing a lot of different things health wise. The guy creates a culture there.
Yep.
But he always finds time to send me a note, no matter what's going on. So that just is just incredible. He and his wife are just incredible people. They got an incredible family, and he, you got a coach that is dealing with the whole NIL is a whole different subject.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't NIL is killing, in my opinion, is killing wrestling. But you look at Kikaisen, that I mean, come on, look at how many times he's in the finals. You can't tell me there weren't some Division I coaches
Oh
that
yeah.
were calling him up. Look at me, the crank phone,
Yeah.
saying, hey, what are you getting at UNI? What? Like nothing, 20,000, whatever? How about 1 point whatever million? You know
Yeah.
what? That kind of culture, there's do you know Sandy Stevens at all?
I don't know if I do or not.
She is a huge I mean I couldn't even get into everything that she's done. She's in the National Hall of Fame. She's just a great announcer. She's a big
Oh,
proponent,
yes. I know exactly what you're
fan.
talking about.
Yeah, just a huge fan of you and I. So, but you got different people like that have bought into you and I, and you've got Schwab that's created this culture, and you've got geez, I'm thinking of Happels from Lisbon,
Yeah.
their son that just graduated there, and there's just different people that could probably have went other places and probably came away financially pretty decent. And I don't know about the coaching, just that all depends. But they just bought into the culture at UNI, and it's not just all dollars and cents, and it's not just all wins and losses. It's a culture, and I'd say to me, and there's so many great coaches. I would say Doug Schwab to me is the epitome um, of what a coach should be. Um, he was national coach of the year. I mean, Mark Manning was coach too. I mean, there's two different classifications that they do in Division One as far as the tournament coach of the year and the national coach of the year. So they were both recognized, but to me, I would say Doug Schwab, without a
Yeah.
doubt. I
Yeah.
was thinking
And
when you first asked me, I'd go like, "Oh my God." I mean, I'm thinking Nick Mitchell, I'm thinking Eric Keller, I'm thinking uh, um, Dave Malachek from lacrosse. I mean, there's just so many incredible coaches. I mean, and I'm thinking a lot of D3, coaches from, Heath Grimm from Upper Iowa. Yeah, and D1, you could go John
yeah.
Smith. I love John Smith. I mean, and he's coming back to women's wrestling.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? That's really
So
cool.
that's incredible. So John Smith would be up there, but I'm sticking with Schwab.
Yeah, no, I've met Doug one time. I know Mark and Mike used to come. Brent Hagan was my head
Yep.
coach, and they used to come down and do clinics for us. So I knew Mark and Mike really well. When Hagan was doing the security at UNI, I actually went up and did security at UNI with Mike and stuff. So I mean, when it used to be the old before Fargo was Fargo,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah,
I,
but
I
I
remember when junior nationals were there one time when the rainstorm came through and lightning, and it just started finals match, and the rain was coming through right out on the finals match. And it was like, speaking of Hagens, now
yeah.
he and his brother, their dad, they actually lived in Clarion.
Yes.
Then they migrated to Brett. We weren't happy with that.
Yeah, because that's where his mom and dad met, wasn't it? She was like the state wrestling princess or something like that, and
Yeah,
that's
something
I
like that. Yeah. And
yeah.
then his dad ran a business in town, and then in the early 70s, it was Britt 1, Clarion 2, like boom, boom, boom. And it was like Al DeLeon, who was the coach up
Hmm.
there, and then Dale Brand, who was I showed you that was he wrestled, he was from Fort Dodge, state champ Fort Dodge, and then was the coach at Clarion for 34 years. We just couldn't get past Britt.
Funny story with Al DeLeon. So we always would hear stories about Al DeLeon, and he had at the time he was doing mindset tapes, before that was even a thing, and so we'd all have his cassette tape, but there was a ride. It was just a cross arm ride, and Brett Hagan always called it the Brit ride. And
Yeah.
so we had a whole series off of that, and we were at wrestling camp. It was Iowa State wrestling camp when Al DeLeon was our clinician. We said, "Yeah, we know all about the Brit Ride," and he's like, "What are you talking about? I've never
Yeah.
even heard this." So just something he made up in his in his own mind. So
They
yeah, no,
they did the crossface cradle really well.
yeah,
Man, but then when you would get on top, I love Al, but we called them the brick crawlers because then they really wouldn't call stalling. They would go like this and just off the mat each time, off the mat, off the mat. You just could never get a good chance at getting any moves going. They were just like crawling, and then they'd get on top and boom. But no better. Wow. I'm gonna add one more coach. Al Frost from Nashville Plainfield. I don't know if you know him or not, but I was thinking crossface cradle, but
uh,
um, he's another one that's going into the Hall of Fame in October with Chet Bachman. But I digress, Coach. I'm sorry.
well, no, you're fine. That's where. So I coached with Lance Schultz for a long time, and
Oh
he's
yeah,
from Nashua, Plainfield, and
yeah,
stuff. So I've heard stories about him too. So
yeah.
yeah. So Here's the question. You got the job at the NFHS as the head wrestling rules person. What wrestling rule are we going to change?
So if I'm going minor or major, so the minor one would be, and we kind of alluded to it, is all on the out of bounds. I'd like to see just an emphasis on one, the push out,
Hmm.
but to go with that, I want to see officials being a little more consistent and aggressive on calling that out of bounds call. And from the standpoint that I think for me, for an official, is recognizing uh, either a wrestler that's being overpowered and just being pushed out, or one
Uh-huh.
that's failing to circle. Because I've seen girls that just push, 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 push. And I'll even say it as an official, and I'll tell it to the coaches. I go, pushing is not an offense.
Hmm.
I go, that to me, they are avoiding wrestling. They're just trying to shove that girl out. Does the other one have an obligation to circle to come in? Yes. And but I've seen them where they're trying to circle in and they're just shoving them out. I'm calling the other one for stalling.
Yeah. I
Makes
actually got
coaches
I
go nuts and they go, "What?
no,
We're the aggressor." And I go, "You're not. You are
no.
not. That is avoiding wrestling. You're just shoving them out." But you get the ones that just kind of back, 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 and then boom. If you do a good job as an official, you aren't waiting until they go out.
Yep.
I shouldn't say save face, but you can eliminate a lot of frustration from other coaches going, well, we were trying to circle. No, back it, boom. Red, you're stalling. Boom, right there. Before they even get there. And they're back and back and back and back, and you go center, center, center. Bam. Red, let's go.
Yep. You're
I've never
speaking my
had coaches
language.
question me. It's like, boom. So my big one is I want to see the National Federation change girls high school to freestyle.
I can see
All the
that.
girls, I think all the girls are at a disadvantage when they wrestle folk style their entire time. Boys have a transition period. They go to college and
Yep.
they're still wrestling folk style. Girls, they're wrestling freestyle. I think let's commit to it. It's going to take some transition time. Right now, there's not enough officials to do college freestyle.
Hmm.
Um, there's a shortage on folk style officials right now, but I think this would pressure some people into, especially officials that do men's, to be proficient in both styles. And I think it would only help our women to transition to college if we did freestyle. And outside of the world championships this year, our most dominant wrestlers have been the women in the last probably 4 or 5 cycles in the Olympics and in the worlds. They were just kicking the shit out of Japan. I mean, Japan is probably their biggest competitor, but not
Yep.
this last time. But I will say that Kennedy and Welker, they were up there. I mean, they at least
Yeah.
got on the stand. So we got two Iowa connections there. And Helen Margelis. My,
Yeah.
I mean, 5-time world
Yeah.
medalist or champion. It's like, oh my goodness. So when we need more of that. But I think if I could go on the National Federation of High Schools, I'd say women, let's get a timeline. And we're at folk style, then we're going to go modified, then we're going freestyle.
Yeah. I think
That
that's a
would
good.
be, instead of just one rule, it's
Yeah.
all of
Yeah. And I
it.
think if you do it in that manner, there's a timeline, and now it prepares. You do it next year. There's going to be a lot of coaches not prepared, right? But
Right.
if you do it in a timeline, and we say, hey, we're going to go to modified, so now we have to really concentrate on
Right.
the
So
step
there
out.
could be the out of bounds rule, the
Yep.
push out, then you get a takedown
Mutual
and
starts.
back up, we're up.
Yep.
And which is good because I know they even talked about like in men's, it's like, all right, you should be able to release them and give an escape without giving up a point if you're dominant on top. Well, that's what freestyle does. Just
Yeah.
boom, stop action, up, we're neutral.
Yeah.
And that kind of progression, I think, would work. I mean, because outside of that, I mean, most of your David Taylor, Dake, a lot of them, um, a lot of the great freestylers just have solid folk style takedowns.
Yeah.
I think Dake does a lot of there are a lot of them are switching now with the chest wrap that are
Hmm.
trying to do more of the chest wrap, which you didn't see 3 4 years ago. I mean, Taylor was doing it, but you see a lot of more of them now. But most of them were just like John Smith, low outside single, boom, boom. I mean, that's how John Smith, you know,
Yeah.
won as many national
Well,
titles as he did.
Smith with his low single, Burrows with a double. It's,
Yep, blast double. Yep,
yeah. And then our gas tank's better than most international wrestlers too. Seems like
right,
we can compete in that third, or not third, but in those last minutes we seem to be
right.
pretty solid. So
Yep.
yeah, no, I think I think a timeline is needed, because I think there's a lot of education that has to be done for coaches as well. Just
Yeah. So that would be instead of one, that would just be a total
yeah,
major rule change for me. It'd
yeah.
be like, let's go. That's progression, change it, and just do it.
Yeah, you're
And that
speaking
would
my
give that
language.
would give officials time to get used to just the push out and then getting them back up. And then,
Yep.
outside of that, the leg laces. I mean, a lot of freestyle for me is a little complicated in who initiated the move and what
Hmm.
exposure there was. I mean, that gets a little complicated and like I've seen some where I mean, you can obviously see where somebody hit and initiated it, but I may have stopped you and then I might have took you one way or another and did the exposure. That's why you have three officials in freestyle.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that is true. Because yeah, some of that gets really complicated. You were speaking my language with making that a consistent call on the edge of the mat. I think I got two warnings last year because I was like, just call somebody. I don't care,
Right.
because if we don't make that call, they're gonna make that call at regionals.
Yeah.
And then so I got actually did. Yeah, I may have said things too much, but yeah,
I did
I
that once. Once I was at North Lynn officiating, and I won't say which one, but there was a fairly aggressive West Delaware coach. Love him, but so they were being very aggressive, and they kept shooting, and and I kept on the edge of the mat, not West Delaware, against the other guy. Boom, that's how you call it. But I'm still surprised at the people that think there's still the shoot off
yeah.
uh rule. It's like, no, there isn't.
When I was in college, that was one of the things we did every day, though. We would circle in, shoot out,
Yeah.
just for that look, if we're gonna get the call.
And in college, if it's called correctly, you can be the aggressor. But if you circle and you're on the line and you take one step backwards, boom, you are stalling. And the
Yeah.
coaches don't like it, but that is the rule.
Got just two more things left for you. This one's we've been talking about it all night, but it puts it into a just a direct question. Wrestling has taught me to blank.
Um, I mean, a lot of things. Be adaptive. I mean, be basically being able to adapt. I mean, because you never know what's going to come at you. I mean, you may go into a season and have a really good season and have an injury that you need to overcome. In a single match, you might go out there and get thrown on your back for, six. You're down, four takedown, or I mean, or three takedown and four and seven. Excuse me, I got to
Yep.
do the math. So, just resiliency, how to bounce back, and overcome. I think that's what, again, I go back to that quote where, Gable said, after you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. I think if it's taught me anything, it's just how to keep grind and keep going forward, how to adapt with whatever your environment is, or situation, and just improve and keep moving forward.
Very good. The last thing I always do is give you an opportunity to have some final thoughts, things that you just like to say, about the sport of wrestling or anything really.
I don't know if I came into this with any preconceived notions. I think the only thing I'd really like to share is that one thing that wrestling has really provided me is relationships. Um, I'm just incredibly blessed with all the people that I've gotten to know through wrestling. And when I'm with my son or wife or daughter, they're always like, we're going to an event, and they're like, all right, let's get going. It's over. Let's get to the car and let's go. And they know I'm taking two steps and I'm talking to
Yep.
somebody. But which is good because I just absolutely love the relationships. It's not just like when you leave an event, but it's even when you first get there, you have that anticipation. I mean, like I'm looking forward to going to Fort Dodge the second
Yep.
week in November because I know I'll get to see you and the different coaches. I just enjoy that. I look back on back like when I talked about like when Charlotte Bailey was lining up some of these tournaments, just some of the development and some of the coaches that were there and are still there. I still like those relationships where we talked about some of these old coaches and guys that are coaching girls now that you thought would be long retired. Um, I think one of my longest running relationships with people and a great coach that I always love seeing is Dave Storm
Oh yeah.
from Spencer. I've known Dave when we were just literally puppies, just right out of high school. I mean, I knew him beforehand, and he knew me. And then I had a young kid that his name was Tim Coughlin that wrestled for Spencer and ended up we ended up with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, beat that, and then died in a car accident. I was like, oh my
Oh,
God.
crazy.
But so just and Dave will be up there at Iowa Central too.
Yep. Dave just got
So
out of surgery too. He just
yeah,
had
yeah,
surgery on his elbow. Yep.
yeah. So I would just say just the one thing I take away is just in the short term things, in the heat of the battle and everything else and coaching kids in short term, it's um it's those memories and the relationships that you develop through wrestling that you just can't take away and that are always special. I mean, just that's all I want to share. Because you can get, I mean, to me, you get to old enough to a point where you get some accolades, and that's just a lot of times I say it's just because I'm getting old. But you can't replace the relationships. I mean, you and I know, who are some of your go-tos and some of your genuine friends, and I would say the to me, I'm biased because I think the wrestling community is by far the best.
Yeah. No, love it. Thank you. I appreciate that you speak my language a lot, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the last few years of girls wrestling. And I do look forward to seeing you in Fort Dodge and state tournament. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm so thankful you came on and gave us some knowledge tonight.
And I
I
used to be
really
really, really involved with AAU, and I want to get back into it. It's just like every time during girls' state, I'm I've been
you're
to like
doing D.
I've been to like 43 junior college nationals in a
Yep.
row. It's always the same weekend. And I know a
Yep.
couple times I've raced back to Cedar Rapids and it's like I just get the finals or I walk in and I'm seeing Jason Lloyd and everybody else and I'm like going, tournament's
You're
over. And one last thing I'll do is I like the melding the different people. So like, there's a Happle that's going out with who's the young lady from Charles City? Um
Luft.
Yeah, well, so that, and then the whole
Uh,
James Clement and Lloyd marriage, and
yep. Yep.
it's
Yep.
just so fun to watch all this transpire, and it's just and the same thing. It just goes back to the relationships, and it's just incredible. Love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
Well, thank you very much for coming on tonight, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
I appreciate it. You take care.